Doing great. Great to have you today
It's good to
on the live. Yeah, so I guess we want to start with a quick introduction of yourself. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about you and your background.
Okay, I'd be delighted. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Cherovich, and I am a college professor. I teach principles of marketing and international business at a community college just outside of Chicago. And so my journey on the entrepreneurship journey started last year when I took the 21-day challenge with James. And because I thought I wanted to teach English as a second language, which I have done before. And I quickly realized that it was trying to put a round peg in a square hole. And I really worked for the last year or so with James and trying to figure out what it is exactly that I wanted to do. So I'm a paid teacher. I'm in class a couple times a week and I love teaching. It is my passion, but I also felt like there was something missing, and there needed to be another something else for me to engage in, especially being that I teach business. It would be helpful if I myself had some little side hustle going on so I can bring these things into the classroom, talk to my students about some of the challenges and opportunities that I had. And so that's what I've been working on over the last year. It hasn't always been easy or as straightforward as I would have hoped, but I think I finally found my groove, my niche, so to speak.
That's
So
great.
that's what I'm here to talk about today.
That's good, Lisa. Yeah, there are a lot we have planned to talk about. So before we dive into that, Lisa's journey of defining her niche. Okay, just want to give you guys some background or context of niche teaching, right? So in case you are new to niche teaching, so niche teaching is about teaching a particular group of students that have common challenges or problems you can solve. And then, in order to start niche teaching, you need to define your niche. Okay, that's where the challenge is. How can I define a niche? And usually, we look into three categories. Excuse me. Number one is the market potential, right? Whatever niche you need to have, there must be a need or somebody wants something from you, the market potential. And the second one is your skill set. Do you have the skills or experience, expertise, sorry, to deliver whatever they need, right? The second thing. The third thing is your passion. Okay, whether or not you're interested, you're passionate about what you're gonna do. So these are three categories usually we look at and to help you manage to define your niche. Okay, so I want to know, we have quite a few people watching right now. I want to know who has a niche. If you can comment in the chat, or who are struggling with finding a niche. Let me see if anyone, whether or not you have a niche or you're struggling with finding a niche. If you can let us know in the chat, that'll be great. All right, hopefully somebody can share. Helena, I know Helena has been struggling with the niche as well. Okay, that's why you're here. Helena has been with us for three years, I guess. I think still struggling with the niche. So if you struggle with finding a niche, you're not alone. Okay, so I hope this story with Lisa gonna get some inspiration for you. Maybe we can get back to you, Lisa. So let's
Thank
start
you.
with the previous
Oh,
niches you have. If you want to start with that, the previous niches that you had.
so for the people who are struggling, believe me, if a marketing professor and my background is in marketing, if I struggle with my niche, then you shouldn't feel bad struggling with yours because James and I went round and round. I know what a niche is. I know what I need to do, but nothing was really sitting with me in a way that, as James said, that last part where I felt that passion. Right, I can teach a lot of things, and I do, and I'm excited about certain things, but that for sure for me, teaching English as a second language, I quickly figured out that that wasn't it. And I wanted to stay more in the space that I was working in, excuse me, on a daily basis, but yet try to spread my wings a little bit. And so I went back and forth with James's guidance, and I landed upon I fancy myself. My background is in marketing. I fancy myself somebody who's creative, and I kept coming back to this innovation and creativity piece that I knew that I wanted to focus on, and so that's where we started. And then he made me do some research, which even though I'm a marketer, I had market research people that would always do that for me. And so I started looking at, where am I going to get some of this information? And I will be honest, I felt a little overwhelmed because I do have a full-time job, and it can, when we're in session, it can be all consuming. And so he suggested to me that maybe the best thing for me to do was to start small, which I I'm a big picture thinker, and I'm very good at coming up high in the sky. But that's really what I needed to do, was to back it up a little bit. And so we agreed that how I would start was just through podcasting. And so I started doing some research about the podcasts that were out there, and I came to the conclusion that one of the things that would be very natural for me, because I do it in my classroom, is talking about the creativity and innovation that I bring into the classroom. And it's on multiple different levels, right? So with technology, everything from technology to using board games. And so that's what started it for me. And so I don't know, James, you have
Okay. Yeah,
a
yeah. Yeah, I want to break this down a little bit more. Okay, if we, let's say, go back a year ago, right? So when you first started thinking about your niche, you started with teaching ESL. So my question is, what made you to think of that as the niche at that time? Like, what was the reasons that you wanted to give a try?
Well, if I'm being really honest, it's because somehow you got my email and you sent out something about the 21-day challenge. And I was like, yeah, I have my certification. I got it during COVID when I was thinking about running away from the world. And I've taught it for several years. And so I took the 21-day challenge, and it was in the 21-day challenge that I learned a lot of things about technology that I didn't know, and starting to update my LinkedIn profile and making a presentation, because being that I'm a tenured professor, I never thought about doing any of this stuff, right? I have a job
Yeah, yeah,
so long
yeah,
as I'm, basically
yeah,
don't kill anybody for
yeah,
the rest of the time. But there was something being part of that cohort and just talking about the idea of attracting my own clients. It started me thinking about, I could do this. Like, I could have a little side hustle where I don't maybe have to teach extra classes, but I'm doing something that would be a win-win, right? So I'm learning, I'm earning some money, and yet I can bring this learning from running my own business into the classroom. So I knew I wanted to do something, but every time I kept going back to the ESL, and quite honestly, I haven't been in it. I'm doing it right now. It was just a one-term deal, but I felt like I would have to really retool, and
yeah,
I wasn't really
yeah,
wanting to
yeah,
do that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so is that fair to say, when you first tried to come up with your niche, you focused more on your experience because you taught ESL before, and also the market, because we made it sound like it's a great market, and many people are doing it, and you
Yes.
didn't really think a lot about your passion at that time when you first decided that niche teaching ESL. That correct? That fair
Yes.
to say? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I mentioned that I teach principles of marketing, but I also teach international business, and I am the primary international business professor where I work. And so the idea of doing something with people abroad was
Mm.
also really appealing to me. So it checked all the boxes. Getting to know people in different parts of the world. I've been all over the world. I'm very comfortable. I speak multiple languages myself, but there was just something, I can't explain it. I don't understand really why, but it was just like, this doesn't feel right to me right now. I mean, who knows, maybe down the road, but because you kept saying you have to go, not you have to go, look at where the opportunity is. It's in business, and you're in marketing and connecting with those people. And I'm like, it just didn't click for me. And I don't know how else to explain it, but it just didn't click.
Okay. So what happened when it didn't click? So we
Well,
try we try very hard. We try very hard with that niche. So what happened when it didn't click?
you and I went back and forth a lot, and I was frustrated, and I think I quit multiple times, and you were very patient with me and said, okay, let's find what gets you excited, which is, I mean, it's like role reversal, because now I'm the student, right? This is
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly what you're saying to your students. I say to my students, but it's always easier being that one, the teacher, in this case, it's like, you can do it, you can find it. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. This is gonna, kind of like my students do to me. And I was hoping it was true, but I wasn't 100% convinced in the
Gotcha.
beginning. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
trusted
Yeah.
you to help guide me. And that's really for me, what I need is that kind of hand holding, because I do have so many ideas running through my
Yeah.
head, and
Yeah.
having that discipline.
Absolutely. So, um, to summarize, when you first tried to find a niche, we looked at more at the market potential and the experience, and then we decided to go with teaching ESL. By the way, there's nothing wrong with teaching ESL. We have a lot of very successful teachers, but that was a good niche. That was a valuable niche, and then I think the challenges were implementing it,
Mhm.
because you didn't feel about it, you didn't feel connected with it, and then doing everything that you're supposed to do, the marketing, prospecting, the sales, everything feel very kind of disconnected, and then you didn't manage to like continue and then make it work. So that's the reason. Not nothing wrong with the market, nothing
Oh, no,
wrong
no,
with
no,
the
no, no.
experience. Yeah, but I think that is the reason why
Yeah,
it didn't work. And honestly with you, Lisa, this is the problem for many teachers. So they have a good ideas, they have a good niches, they never made it work. It's
yeah.
not because the market is not because they don't have the skills. They have skills. They can actually deliver. Just because they dropped out during the whole process. And now, if we kind of shift to this current niche, by the way, if you can explain again what this niche is, some people just join now. And what's different here? Like, what makes this one so much more promising to you?
That's a good question. And so I think I landed upon this maybe in the late summer. Then I was thinking something had to do, I still wanted to stay in the educational space, with the idea that down the road, because I do a lot of work with companies, in ed tech, and with publishers, and stuff like that. That first start with what I know and where I've been. So yes, I have a background in marketing, and I spent 20 years in various marketing roles, but I've been a full-time professor for almost as long. And so I know the higher educational market. I know the pain points of, trying to engage students, especially younger students. And, they're always on their phone. And how do you get them really excited about what you're teaching? And I knew I couldn't be the only one that had these issues. Right. And so I decided that, uh, I over the summer I found some conferences on gaming, play and engagement, which sounds really weird. When you think about higher education, you don't think necessarily about play, but I've thought for a long time that that's, everybody loved being in school when you were 5 because it was all about the play. And then as we go through school, it becomes less and less. So, bringing play into my classroom was very natural to me because that's what I do. I recognize that maybe not everybody feels comfortable. And so just talking to people, what I started to do is going to these conferences and meeting people. And inevitably, most of these people that were presenting had a dual role, and they were educators and also entrepreneurs. And so then the light bulbs started to go off a little bit. They were uh, most of them weren't marketers by nature. And so what has been happening just over the last couple months, I went to a conference in July, and then I went to one at Carnegie Mellon in October, and I met a few people. And from that, and then I live near Chicago. I went to a toy and game expo that was at our expo center that literally is on my way to work. And I saw it. It felt like the universe was aligned. It's like, oh, this weekend I'm available and I'm going to go. And ironically, this morning, right before our call, I was on with somebody that I met there who we're planning on. She's a small division. The EDU, or the educational unit, is a small division of the overall company, which is a small company. And so we were plotting how my students can engage with her product and getting the word out. But also my master plan is that down the road, she's going to need some help even with my students, coming up with this, and that this could be a consulting opportunity for me. And so, which is really what I'm aiming for. So I'm trying to build my brand, and I know it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. But I can't tell you, you and I talked about it 2 weeks ago when I'm already booked. When I was getting off with her, she's like, I know you want to interview the founders of the company when, and I'm like, look, I have a podcast that I need to push out this week. I'm meeting with somebody tomorrow that I met at the conference in July. I'm meeting somebody that I'm going to San Francisco this weekend. He and I are going to sit down. I am booked until into February in terms of people wanting to talk about this. And so I just feel, I'm more, I'm more on the feeling side than the analytical side. I feel like there is so much opportunity for this.
Yeah, Lisa, so let's pause for a few minutes. I just want to really zoom in and let you share a bit how you feel about the two niches. So the niche you define first, teaching ESL, that we really looked into your experience, the market, and then this niche that I think very much kind of followed your passion. Then, right
Yep.
now, how you feel about the two niche, because obviously, I mean, the energy is completely different when you finally align with your passion. But really,
Yep.
how you feel and why you feel so different with it too.
Because right tonight I'm going to school. I'll be with my ESL students, and it's fun. I enjoy it. They're dedicated people, and I go and I do the grammar and but to compare that with the call that I was on this morning with this woman talking about just planning, for the future. It's, I guess you said it before, it's more aligned with my skills and my interests. And so, I'm a native English speaker. I've taught ESL before, but I think to really be a super ESL teacher, which is, that's always my goal, my standard. It would take a lot for me to get there. And I just don't have that level of interest in getting to that point. Whereas this feels like it's a natural extension of what I'm already doing, right? I'm already doing these things in my classes. I'm already, if I were in my office, you would see, and I think I've showed you, just like my credenza is just jam packed with games. And if it were up to me, I would never show a PowerPoint. I would try to,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what I
yeah,
do. I try to work in games as a way to teach the students, to engage them.
yeah. So I want to highlight one keyword you mentioned a few times already, natural. So
Yeah.
so I remember that when we first started that niche teaching ESL, so we have the whole plan laid out. I think you just feel like forced, like feel like no, you have to do it, right? And now you have this niche very well kind of followed your passion, and I'm amazed by how many things you do yourself, like without me telling you at all. It's because it's so natural now, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're, let's say you go on to the conferences, nobody asks you to, and you make suggestions, you're making connections, and you get people on your podcast. Nobody told you to do that, right? It's just like
Right.
everything becomes so natural, and when things become natural, you do it, right,
Yep.
without any extra effort. So I think that's what makes the difference when your niche follows your passion. Is that right, Lisa?
Yeah. 100%. I went to that conference just to learn more, and and if I could, I was like the belle of the ball, because it was so unusual for a professor in higher education to be thinking about that. That wasn't it, because when they were thinking games, they were thinking more technology. But I was like, no, a technology and old school, and everybody's like, I need to talk to you. I need to, so I didn't know anybody. I went there, it was the first time
Yeah,
I even heard of the conference, and it was just such an eye opener for me.
great. Okay, so that's pretty much from us. I just want to show you guys what can be so different when you actually found your passion in your niche. So, if you guys have any questions, please put in the chat. Happy to answer them. And Ricardo actually shared a few things here. Um, so he shared his niche. He's in the process of trying some. One is AI assisted math. Another one is financial trading and investing. Okay, I hope this interview gonna inspire you, right? So when you think about these niches, of course we need to look at market potential, your skill set. Also, we should emphasize more on the passion.
If so, that comment about I just want to. James knows this. He started me on my AI journey, which now I fully embrace, and I am working on teaching students how to use it responsibly. But I believe it was because, in the 21-day challenge, we really worked a lot with AI. Somehow I found myself on a panel over the summer as with AI in higher education at USC, which I was just blown away that the only way I can attribute it to them finding me was through the things I was doing on LinkedIn. So, to whoever asked that question, keep looking into it, because I think there is a lot of opportunity in the teaching area for AI.
Thank you for sharing that, Lisa. Ricardo said, I've also got one that is unique that kind of incorporates gaming based on learning for kids. That's great. So
Does he want
Ricardo,
to be on my podcast? No.
yeah, reach out to, to Ricardo. That's great. So yeah, so I'm gonna share the podcast, Lisa's podcast, and also LinkedIn with you guys, just in case you want to get in touch with her. Okay, Lisa, let me share the links with you guys. And if you have any takeaways and the comments, please share in the chat as well. Let me just get on LinkedIn. Okay, here. Yeah, so Lisa's podcast. Maybe Lisa, do you want to share a little bit more about your podcast? What you do with your podcast usually?
Yep. So this is very new. I just started it last month, and I try to find people to interview. Being that I'm in an educational space, I can find people pretty easily, my colleagues. But I've also, as I said before, reached out to folks in the gaming industry. I do, as I was saying to James earlier, I have a couple of pods that are going to be pushed out. I'm trying to space it. I told when I set it up that I was going to do it every 2 weeks, that to be expecting every couple of weeks. And so I'm trying to honor that just to time it. So you'll hear on one of the first one was an interview that I had with a gentleman that I met at that podcast or the conference at Carnegie Mellon, who is a language arts teacher who created a game. And this one that I'm working on pushing out this week is also somebody who doesn't have a background in education, but he created a game to engage people, just a card game, like an Uno type of game. And so people are really excited to come on. It's, the marketer in me knows it's free publicity for them, right? And they're sharing with their friends, and hopefully somebody will hear it and say, I want to talk to that woman and get more information, and maybe about how to engage my employees or my students. And so that's my grand plan. Oops, James, we don't hear you. You're
Sorry about that. So from Savannah, makes a tremendous difference to read, discover, and follow your passion. The energy is unlimited. For sure,
Yep,
100%.
yep, 100%.
Jackie, hi Jackie. I'm in a similar place with Lisa, with my career and work. So hope to narrow mine down. I utilize my career and background. It's very helpful. I guess one of the things we didn't mention is that I think being able to host a podcast or host podcasts also made it easier for you to kind of pursue this dream, right? Because I remember last year when we thought about the niche, we didn't really bring podcast into kind of one of the ways
Mm,
to pursue, and then having podcasts or other ways, just other than just social media, give you more flexibility in terms of how you can pursue your dream as a niche. So
yeah,
do you understand all
I
that?
would,
Yeah,
and it's. I mean, I can use technology. I'm not afraid of it, but it's super easy to do. So that should not. Don't let that stop you, because it's whether you're super technical or not. Recording a pod and pushing it out onto the platforms is not hard.
it's not for sure. Yeah, Jake said the podcast, great. Thank you. All right. Any comments, guys? Any questions for Lisa or myself? This is gonna be a very not too long interview. Just want to kind of very concentrate on the needs to highlight something that we all know, a passion. But I want to use Lisa's example to show you what a difference, between. I mean, I feel that so much because
You suffered.
my life has become much easier working with you because you're just like doing things. And I remember last year, like trying to push you, but this year is like you're dragging me, like trying to let me follow you. So
Yeah,
what a difference! What a
yeah.
difference!
No, it's true. It's right. The push versus pull, and we talk about that in marketing. But and like you said, I have a lot of things going on. I'm always got my hands in a bunch of things, but I just naturally find time to do this. Where when I was working before, I was always too busy, right? And so I think that was a sign, like that I was putting it off for a reason, and now it's getting done. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, all right, so. I'm gonna share the monthly event link again in the chat. Follow us and make sure you check out our upcoming events. We have events every month, okay? And then the niche teaching workshop is a great opportunity for you to define or refine niche and understand more about niche teaching. So niche teaching, of course, defining your niche is the first step, but there's so much more about niche teaching because niche teaching, end of the day, right, allows you to position yourself as expert as a niche that justify higher rates. So you don't compete with others on prices because you're general teacher. So I'm gonna share the niche teaching workshop link to register as well, just in case you don't have a niche teaching workshop free registration. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna send it to you here. Ricardo says, "Congrats, Lisa, on your journey. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it." And Melina, hi Melina. Uh, yeah, this is Helena following you on podcast. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, anyone who's interested in game fights, classroom, please follow Lisa. I listened to one of her podcasts, very interesting. Okay, eye opener. So because I'm not very familiar with that concept, but it's great, and I like what you said, Lisa. So I think gaming, even now, like when we are running our community, like the Teacher Academy, Inner Circle, we are trying to gamify in it. Now, otherwise, games is not just for games are not just for children. It's also, I think if we find a right way to do it, it's gonna make things much interesting, much more interesting, and much more engaging, right?
It's the right. It's the most natural way to learn. I mean, when we're young and before we get to school, we're playing games, we're learning different things, and we don't know that that's what's happening.
Yeah,
And so, I'm an educator, but I once heard Sir Ken Robinson, who's an expert on creativity, say that the problem with education is it educates us out of our creativity. And I
yeah,
think that it's incumbent upon all of us from K through 12 through higher ed to bring that back. I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is our competitive advantage to get people to be able to solve things creatively. And that's what gaming does. It's, and I, in that little pod it was a filler. I had somebody who wasn't able to make it. So that the first pod that you'll hear is me. It's just less than 10 minutes, but I felt really compelled to talk about it because my students I had them build a retail store, and it was kind of just an afterthought on my part. And I'm glad that I did it because for 2 weeks they were so engaged. Nobody picked up their phone. They were talking to each other. They were laughing. And yesterday they presented their results from the simulation that they played. But I felt like they were more proud of the retail space that they made, right? Because
yeah,
they actually did it with their hands and they were truly collaborative. And that's, I think, what my goal is to get people, whether you're in education or in industry, to have that kind, because the sky's the limit if we do that.
absolutely, 100%. Okay, and for those of you who have questions to podcasting, I shared a free webinar recording. You can just watch. We actually talk about equipment, how this works. I shared the link as well in the chat. Okay, so I guess that's it, Lisa. And
Thank you.
everyone else. And I guess Lisa, I'll leave it to you. Maybe one last suggestion for teachers who are struggling with finding their niche, or would you use maybe one sentence to
I would
wrap
say
up?
don't give up.
Hmm.
This is what I tell my students. And I think as a teacher, and I think most people on here are teachers, what you're supposed to be doing. You were doing it before you even got paid, right? So follow your interests and the rest will fall into place.
Love it. Thank you, Lisa, very much, and
Thank
uh, and
you.
thanks everyone for joining us today. Okay, appreciate it, and make sure to join us again next month. And we'll definitely invite you back, Lisa, and next year. Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much, everyone. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye.